Saturday, July 13th, 2019, and this is the Pro and the Con Show, and my name is Michael James Ott. I'm the host of the show. Try to do 15 to 20 minutes. Hold the chair up here a little bit. Try to do 15 to 20 minutes every day. The intent is to try to encourage us to have a more open dialogue, to be open to the ideas of others, and to try to focus on the facts, which is the who, the what, the where, and the when, and to try to set aside all the commentary that's out there. So the various information channels. I intentionally don't use the word news because news is just the facts, the who, the what, the where, the when. And what we have is well beyond that. It's a whole bunch of prognostication and opinion, and its associated bias from whoever it is that's sending us that information. And some places are better than others. I personally recommend, if you're going to be online, you look at NPR, National Public Radio, and in fact, if you're doing anything on television, that you should go for some of the public television news broadcasts, as opposed to, or some of the major networks like ABC or CBS or something like that, NBC, as opposed to some of the cable TV networks that exist, and try to get the ratings from, being your source of the news. So anyway, today, rather than talk about some of the articles with bias in them, I want to just talk about us. So I had some interesting conversations over the last few days. So yeah, it's the July 13th, Saturday, and on every other Saturday I attend a meeting with an organization called SHIFT, SHIFT. And this is an organization where kind of midlifers, maybe a little bit beyond midlifers, it seems like, talk about their lives and the transitions that they're making, and what they want to do, and the group tries to understand what they're trying to do, and also provide some support, moral or otherwise, to try to help them figure out what's next for them and how to get there. And during that conversation, we have this this discussion about some person talking about this is what happened, and then he was interacting with his brother, and his brother is markedly different, and he has trouble understanding understanding his brother's position. And this is where I want to say a few things. I had and as I look back at it now, was the absolute privilege of going to a 1-week workshop / seminar. It was years ago, I don't know, 25 years ago for me. But it was hosted down in North Carolina, and it was at a place called the Center for Creative Leadership. And when you go to this place, you take a bunch of psychological tests before you go, in preparation for this. It's my recollection is it was a lot of testing, and then you go there, and during that week you talk to other people who went through the same battery of testing, and you also have individual and group meetings, and you talk about all the different test results and what they mean, and what they mean to you, and what they mean to your interactions with other people. And it was what I want to share with you, and it's absolutely imperative and tantamount that you I hope will absorb this. We humans are very, very different one from another. We really are. And not to say that there isn't certainly overlap, there is. But if I had to, I'm an engineer by training, if I had to put a number on it, I would say any individual that you're speaking with or interacting with, you probably only have about maybe an 80% overlap is my guess, my feeling, my estimate. About an 80% overlap between how you perceive things and how they perceive things. So it comes to different examples, and I just remember. So I was one of 6 kids. So my parents, they had 6 children. I was actually the last of 6 children. But when you looked at my 5 siblings and I, we had some similarities. Some facial similarities, some body form similarities, some similarities in hair type and eye colors and things like that, some. But when you looked inside of us, wow, we were quite different the way, and we still are today. But what we've done, as a family, is we've long ago said, we are different. Each of us is different in the way we perceive things. So we're going to stay open to listening to what the other siblings have to say, and not come down on them for what they have to say or what they think, because they're our siblings, and we've determined that that's an important thing within our family. But I would suggest that all of us need to do that to a grand extent. Now, that is not to say that if there is a small percentage of the population, and it is a small percentage of the population, which is truly not good people, and they have ideas and things that are horrific, if you will. These people, these serial killers and things like this. Of course, there's always the exception proves the rule, right? That's an old saying, and it's true as far as my observation. The exception proves the rule. So, but the vast majority of us, we are all, I believe, wanting to do the right thing. We just have different perceptions of what that right thing is. And the reason is because we were all constructed differently at birth, for the most part. Now, we had different experiences and stuff like that too, but the reality is that the human genome, when an egg and sperm come together, and those strands of DNA are coming together, it is an outcome that is different, vastly different every time, which explains why if you have any siblings in your family, almost certainly there's significant differences between your brothers and sisters and you, unless you're identical twins. So the way you perceive things and the way information comes to you and how you learn it and what it means, like in your very soul, this is different. And we had what is the word? Not complacent. Oh gosh, I hate it when the big college words elude me. It'll come to me. But anyway, even as we had this like little forum in the shift meeting, and we were talking about what we were concerned about, and we're kind of just trying to talk about generic things. It was clear, like the definition of a particular word amongst the people sitting at that table was pretty different. Anyway, so let's go back to an example here. So my, gosh, I wish I could remember the word. Anyway, so I was telling the other people at the shift meeting, that this was really, really true, and I had seen it firsthand. Oh, so let me, well, give you an example of a particular fellow. So I was in this creative leadership seminar, and one of the fellows at the table with me, he was like a senior VP or something at a corporation. He was in head of their sales force, and he had been a colonel in the Marines at one point. And he was sitting at our table, and he was, one of the most outgoing, gregarious kind of people there at the table. And we were talking about the different things amongst ourselves and so on. And at one point, they handed out some test results, and I just happened out of the peripheral vision here, I saw that in his scores, he was an introvert, like to the maximum that the test result could provide. And I saw this out of the corner of my eye, and I thought, I can't be true. I must be seeing that wrong. But anyway, so we went on with the meeting, and then at the end of the day, we all rode back and forth from the nearby hotel in the same bus. And I purposely sat down next to this fellow, and I said, I don't mean to intrude on your personal business here, but I'm fascinated by what I think I know, and what I think I know is that you scored like you're a massive introvert, yet you're in this position that requires an extrovert type of effort, and you were in the Marines. You're a colonel in the Marines at one point. And so is the test wrong? Did I see that result correctly? And he said, Michael, what you saw is absolutely correct. He said, I am inherently a tremendous introvert. I am inherently a tremendous introvert. And what I realized when I was in the military, in the Marines, is that couldn't cut it. If I was going to be an effective officer, I had to be outgoing. I had to be proactive. And so I had to fight my own kind of internal leanings, to overcome this, to be the officer in the military that I needed to be. And the same thing now in my current job. I'm in sales, and I need to be an outgoing and gregarious and personable person. He said, you may have noticed when we go back to the hotel, all you guys have been coming down and having dinner and drinks with each other, in the evenings, and you've not seen me there. And I said, yeah, I just assume you're really busy. You're up, making the calls and stuff because you're a salesperson. You're trying to catch up on all the things that were going on during the day that you missed while you're here. And he said, no. He said, I go up to my room and I turn out all the lights, and I take my shoes and socks off, and I scrunch my toes in the carpet. And I try to unwind from this unnatural thing that I've been doing for the last 10 hours of my life. I try to, purge that from me, because it's such an unnatural thing. I need to recover in some quiet in my room. And this is one of the reasons why I bring this up, is we are different, but even though we are different, we can consciously overcome. And that's what I'm suggesting over and over and over again in these videos, is that step by step, day by day, we should be approaching each other and saying, okay, here's where I'm at. I'm hoping that you will listen, and I want to listen to where you're at, and I want to understand that. And then, because we're all in this together, how do we be in a central place, in a good place where we understand each other. And the only way to do that is to be much more involved. And so as far as our own governance, it means that we have to be much more involved. We're going to have to, day in and day out, spend more time. This elect and forget thing isn't working. So, and again, as I've said many times before, I'll say it many times in the future, I'm not talking about 40 hours a week, but I am definitely talking about an hour a week or something, 5-6 hours a month, and to learn and understand the issues well beyond the rhetoric of little taglines that are on bumper stickers and stuff like that. That is the issues are too complex, and our viewpoints are very different. There's a distribution of viewpoints, and the only way that we're going to come to a place where we're all feeling fairly good about the strategies and logistics and the laws and the policies that we're putting in place around all of us, is to consciously sit and talk about how all of us are separated by that 20% or whatever, and what does that mean, and how can we use factual information, fair information, and listening to each other to step by step bring each other to a better place. All right, so for July 13th, 2019, again, I'm your host, Michael James Ott. On Facebook Live, you may notice that the picture is lower resolution than it's been. I'm using a different computer. The original computer I was using was really actually having trouble with doing Facebook Live. So to prevent that, I have decided to use a different computer, although now I see it's doing it too. All right, maybe I have to talk to Facebook. Anyway, Michael James Ott, July 13th, 2019. Until the next show, bye for now.